Thank you for joining Absolute Data webinar, 4 Pillars of AI-Based Predictive Selling. I am Alan Wheeler and I will be your host for today. The webinar will be presented by Titil Pal, Vice President Products and Solutions, along with Rajat Narang, Director Analytics at Absolute Data. In case you face any issues in hearing us or streaming the video, then please feel free to type in your request in the chat window on the left. In case you have any queries during the webinar, then please feel free to type in through the chat window and we will address it once the webinar is concluded. Now I will hand it over to Titil to take it forward.
Thank you, Alan. Good morning, everybody. Welcome again to our webinar today, the 4 pillars of AI-based predictive selling. Over the next, 45 minutes or so, we have a few kind of slides that we would take you through, talking about the 4 pillars of AI-based selling. But before we get into the 4 pillars, we will also give you a sense of how AI and predictive analytics is changing selling itself. We will paint a picture of the future of selling as assisted by AI, and we'll show you how contextual, intelligent guidance at granular level is changing how selling is done today and in the future. One more context setting before we dive in. While AI-based selling is applicable to any and all industry, most of our examples today are focused more on industries which use a sales force or a salesperson-driven sales model. So that being said, let's get started. One of the big megatrends over the last 25, 30 years has been the digitization of our lives. And as our lives have become digitized, all our devices have become smarter. Whether they are watches, printers, mobile phones, or even our cars, homes, or cities, they've all become more digitized, more automated, and more smart. And this trend of getting more digitized and more smart also applies to the function of sales itself. 40 years ago or so, sales was more of a relationship-driven, gut-driven profession. Main success there was mainly driven by the instincts of the salesperson, the relationship that they could build with their prospect, and the art that they brought to their profession. The CRM revolution of the 90s changed the game in sales, and sales became more of a data and data-driven activity. And today, that is where more or less where sales is even today. But there is a revolution afoot. Sales is getting transformed by the application of AI into it. The future of selling is AI-guided predictive selling. In this future, AI-guided devices will plan and prioritize every task and activity for every salesperson. It will help them across their entire sales process to open, close, and renew deals faster. And all of this guidance, insight, activities would be provided seamlessly across all devices, contextualized to what they need, when they need it, and how they need it. Getting a bit more into the detail of this vision of the future, let's actually compare some aspects of a life of a salesperson today with the vision of how it would be as they move ahead in the future. First and foremost, a salesperson of today spends a lot of time planning their day, planning their week, planning what meetings to take, which calls to take, who to send an email to, and what not to do. And all of this planning is left for the salesperson to do on their own, with probably some coaching from their seniors. But in the AI-driven world, a salesperson would not need to do any planning. The AI-based sales assistant will set up all their activities automatically in advance. Every day their meetings would be set up. They would also know what mails to send out, what calls to make, etc. So hardly any time spent in planning, and you never miss any important thing because your AI-driven system has prioritized and set up your tasks, your calendars accordingly. Today, even after so much time that they spend in planning, salespeople do end up spending a lot of time on bad leads that are probably not very serious in purchasing their product. And this is because a lot of these planning decisions, prioritization decisions, is taken still by the salesperson themselves. But in the future, all of this prioritization will be done by the AI-based sales assistant. Using machine learning algorithms, they would prioritize the leads and figure out who are the serious leads versus not, and only prioritize tasks based on those serious leads. A further aspect in today's salesperson's life is the fact that while they have access to a lot of data, especially in the CRM system, this data is provided to them more in terms of data or at best in terms of insight. But they are left on their own capability to sift through it and turn that into specific action items for specific opportunities. But in the future, in the AI-based future, the salesperson is not going to get data or even insights. The salesperson is going to get recommended action items customized to each and every opportunity. So all they have to do is just follow those action items that the AI system is recommending. A fourth area is around preparedness for the meeting. So once a meeting is set up with a prospect, today's salesperson is still many times grasping at straws to figure out what are the talking points for the meeting, what is the product or service that the client might be interested in, and many times is actually using clues in the meeting itself from the client to kind of come up with pitches on the fly. The AI-based world is completely different. The salesperson is prepared in advance by the AI assistant. They are told once a meeting is set up what are the most likely successful products or services a prospect is likely to be interested in. They are told why they might be interested in it. They are given talking points, and even they are given latest information, news, etc. about the client, so that everything from small talk to main talk in that meeting is covered and the salesperson is prepared for it. A final aspect of a salesperson's life is the fact that they are actually inundated with data today. They are filling in lots of reports, they are viewing lots of reports, looking at dashboards, filling stuff into their CRM system, and they are all sometimes in Excel files, sometimes in web links. It's disparate and it's numerous. But in the AI-given world, you don't have to do any of that. Data will be automatically captured. Reports will be turned into action items and provided to you right at the context, at the time, in the format that you want. So for example, as you're going to a meeting, in your mobile device, you will get information about the talking points, the product service recommendations, the rationale, potentially even the latest news about the client. So as you can see, these 5 areas just give you a flavor on how the life of a salesperson is being changed because of this AI assistant, who is really sifting through all the data and giving very easy to consume action items, guidance and information to the salesperson. But continuing on this line, let us actually look at how this might work in an actual hypothetical example. So here's an example of specific actions that a hypothetical salesperson, John Smith, is given when he uses AI-based guidance. This is a day plan that has been built for John Smith by the AI sales assistant. John Smith works for a sports equipment sales company who sells gym equipment to gym chains, universities, sports teams, sports facilities. These are things like weightlifting equipment, cycles, workout machines, yoga studio equipment. They have lots and lots of SKUs. They have over 1,000 SKUs and 100 product lines across a huge range of price points. And along with the products, they also provide installation, training, and servicing services as well. So, given that background, this is what the day game plan or the day task lists could look like. So it starts off with the meetings that John should be attending that day. There's already a meeting set up with Coach Thomas at Stanford University, and that's really to follow up about the weightlifting equipment. The next insight about the meeting is driven by the AI-driven system. So it is automatically generated by the system, and it says, since you're going to meet Coach Thompson anyway at Stanford University, why don't you also meet Amanda Taylor in the gymnastics facility? Because there's an 84% chance that she might be interested in our beams, vaults, and floating portfolio. So this is an example of how an AI-based system can suggest a new meeting to you based on who you might be meeting in that vicinity anyway. The second list is a list of emails that John needs to send that day. And you would notice that there are two emails there. One is about emailing the data sheets on pull strong resistance machines to Paul Anderson. And the way the AI-based system recommends this is from accessing the data and understanding that Paul was researching and browsing this line on the company's website recently. It also suggests sending a follow-up mail to Jen Williamson about the yoga gear, probably because a significant period of time has passed since a proposal around this was, or a quote around this was given to Jen. Similarly, you can see it suggests all the calls that John has to make around, calling up London for selling nets and for Wimbledon, or calling up Dubai Sports, for gym equipment. So again, to reiterate, this entire list is automatically generated by the AI system. It is learning from meetings that you anyway have. It is learning from, things that may have happened in your website or different data source. It is not only suggesting you meetings for each of the meetings or calls or emails, it is recommending to you or pointing out what product or service to buy, why they might be looking for it. So this is really, really comprehensive and completely automatically generated by this system. So now that we've given you a sense of the of the vision of the world and on how AI guidance systems can change sales or a person or the life of a salesperson, let's get into the heart of our webinar today, which is the 4 building blocks of such a system, or what we are calling the 4 pillars of AI-based predictive selling. The first pillar is really about learning about the customer from all sorts of data sources, whether it's internal, external, purchased, or otherwise, data sources where you can learn about different aspects of the customer's behavior, your sales activity, and try and create a 360 view of the customer. The second pillar is about providing comprehensive guidance across the sales life cycle, whether it is about opening an opportunity, closing an opportunity, renewing an opportunity. It's about providing guidance around who to contact, through what product, how to talk to them, all of that. So it's comprehensive guidance versus piecemeal guidance. The third pillar is about having a great state-of-the-art analytics engine as the heart of this AI-based system. And that analytic engine is full of algorithms, machine learning algorithms, predictive analytics algorithms, that is actually giving all these forecasts, recommendations that the AI-based system then uses to give the guidance that we talked about before. And the final pillar is focusing on making this system very, very easy to use, making the insights or the action items come to the user in the right context, making it completely in the device or in a way that they need it at that point of time. And we'll get one by one into each of these pillars now. Starting with pillar number 1, which is really about data. Right? And this pillar really, as I said, talks about trying to get as much information about your customer and your sales activity and try and integrate all of that data and create a 360-degree view. The core or the minimum data that you need to build a viable AI-based predictive selling system is your internal CRM data. It's the data which has your customer and your prospect details. It has the historical purchase information. It has the current opportunities and the historical opportunities that you're working on. All of that is the core data, the minimum data that you need for building a system that we talked about before. Also, one aspect to note about CRM data is the following. That traditionally companies have used CRM data as a way to keep a record and then analyze and predict customer behavior and customer preferences. But CRM data can also be a really good source to learn about what your sales teams are doing and what is working versus not. And many times this data is, there are, CRM systems provide you space, provide you tables, provide you fields to fill this data. But many times, many companies are not very successful in getting this data filled in with high quality. But the value of this data is extremely high in giving more predictive power, more accuracy, and better guidance capability to your AI-based system. Understanding what your top sales reps are doing versus others, understanding how each opportunity is being worked upon, the day-to-day activities, can be critical fuel for a system like this. And many times what we have seen in our experience is that, when clients start providing AI-based guidance to their salespeople, they so much like it that they then start filling in some of this activity data in a better way so that they can get better guidance in the future. So it becomes a really good virtuous loop on where good guidance leads to more data and better data, which in turn leads to even better guidance, and so on and so forth. So your core is the internal CRM data, your customer prospect details, their historical purchase, as well as your sales activity data. In addition to this, you should also be considering several other internal data sources. As many of them that you can bring in and integrate the better. So one of the first ones to look at as another internal data source is your product or service usage data. Most companies will have some sort of product or service usage data that they can bring in. The next one would be marketing response data to response to marketing campaigns. In many cases, this data resides within the CRM systems itself, but in some cases, this can also be a separate system and a separate data source. But extremely valuable data to bring in for an AI-based predictive sales system. Then a relatively newer but extremely potent data source is a data source which collects your customers and prospects interaction with your digital assets, like your website, your social media pages, like your Facebook page, etc. So this is very, very important because clients are constantly leaving many purchase intent signals in those data sets. Like the most common one of that being, cart abandonment on your own website, where they were looking for something, researching a certain product, and they added it to the cart but did not take it. The final internal data set that you can look at is survey-based data around customer feedback, VOC, CSAT, and so on and so forth. Once you've gotten all your internal data, you can start looking at external data. And the first thing to look at is purchasing some external data around firmographics or demographics, depending on whether you are in the B2B industry or the B2C industry. Typically, these data is, if it's B2B, is at the firm account level. If it's B2C, it could be at zip code level. But all of this data can be very useful in lead scoring, in those kind of things that go in as a component of a full AI-based predictive sales system. Finally, another great data set to look at is digital data or social media data, content out there on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, articles, posts, news articles, all of that. Most of this data is very unstructured and need not necessarily be always integrated, at a customer level with your other data. But this data can be very useful to bring in, especially to provide more contextual information, talking points, news and views about the customer as the salesperson gets ready for meetings and contacts and so on and so forth. This brings us really towards the end of this first pillar. But as you saw, to build a comprehensive AI-based system, actually, ideally, you need a lot of data. And a lot of companies actually wait till they have a fairly large amount of different data integrated before they start, before they think that they are ready to even have an AI-based system for sales. But our experience shows us that it is completely different. I think as long as you have good, basic, fundamental internal CRM data, you can get started and you should get started, rather than wait to collect more data and integrate social media data or third-party data, etc. You get started and you keep adding data as it goes, and your guidance becomes better on an ongoing basis. That brings us to the second pillar of comprehensive guidance. And really here, this is about providing AI-based guidance to all aspects of a sales process: opening, closing, renewing, who to contact, when, why, how, rather than providing piecemeal guidance about any of these. There are solutions out there that provide very deep piecemeal guidance, but our experience shows that any solution that provides comprehensive guidance around all aspects of a sales process always beats piecemeal guidance system, even if they might be deeper and better in a particular area. So what is comprehensive guidance, or what are the kind of guidance that an AI-based system should provide for it to qualify as providing comprehensive guidance? The first one is the most obvious one, which is who to contact. Who should you be contacting? And related to this question is when. Who to contact, when is the first most important and basic question that these kind of systems should answer. Once you've answered this, you have to answer what it is that you want to offer and why the customer should be interested in it. Right? So what product or service are they likely to be interested in, and why. Finally, once you've answered these questions, you're left with the last and the only question to do, which is how. How to contact them, what is the next best action that you can take towards getting in touch with them and moving this forward. Now, there are solutions available around these things in the market today. There are actually quite good, deep, and multiple solutions available around the who to contact question. Many lead scoring solutions do that. in the when to reach out area, not too many standard solutions are available. In fact, solutions for the when to reach out has to be built custom to the best of our knowledge. What to offer again is an area where product recommendation systems exist and are doing a really good job. But this is more existing more in the B2C scenario, and very few product recommendation system solutions exist when it comes to the context of providing guidance to a sales force about what to sell to their prospects. So there is some gap in the market in this area as well. Why they will buy, there's absolutely no system which is providing good guidance around that. And how to contact them. There are some solutions available, but like the when to reach out, it's not standard and it's limited. So really, the need today is, as you can see in the market, there is not a very comprehensive system available which is comprehensively and nicely answering all these 5 aspects of a comprehensive guidance system. So going in a little bit deeper around each of these areas, the who to contact question is answered, as I said, by lead scoring. Taking a small detour for the people who may not be as aware with what lead scoring is, lead scoring is nothing but, a lead score is nothing but a probability score which is given to every contact or every opportunity, and it represents the chance of that contact or opportunity moving to the next level in the sales funnel. This could be about an opportunity that you're already specifically working with a contact, and it could be the probability to close that opportunity and make the deal happen. It could be that a contact that you have and the probability is really just showing an opportunity chance that this person might be interested in a product that you have, and so on and so forth. But essentially, the lead scoring is used as a prioritization tool. And good lead scoring will lead to good prioritization, which means your salespeople will not be chasing bad leads. They will be not spending hours planning. They will have better productivity. They can prioritize leads coming from multiple sources like marketing better and align and act on them faster. So that's really about a lead scoring system. The when to contact can actually be answered by an extension of a lead score. And while it is just an extension of a lead score, there are not actually very good solutions available for this in the market, as we said before. This is something that has to be custom built. The extension of a lead score is done by essentially 2 areas. One, by including some activity data about the customer. When did they last purchase, when did you last contact them, and so on and so forth. What was the feedback, how did the last conversation go. That comes in, as well as some business rules around how often to contact somebody, how often not to contact somebody. All of that comes in, how often they typically buy. And these can be different based on the stage of the conversation. That if you're in a very advanced stage, you may be contacting more frequently. It can be different based on how important the overall account is for you as an organization, and so on and so forth. So the when question can be answered by extending a lead score, bringing in some business rules, activity data to do the same. Once you've answered who and when, really what you're left with is the what and why. And the what and why is simply very, very important because it absolutely increases the probability of conversion once you're contacting somebody. If you have the right thing to pitch and if you can give them a reason why they should be interested in it, there's nothing like that. So really, as I said, there are product recommendation systems that are focusing on the what product new or existing to pitch to a client. Very few are focusing also on giving a rationale but a good product recommendation system should not only predict the product, but also give rationale, especially when it is being done to a sales force, to salespeople, where they are having conversations with their prospects and so on and so forth. In fact, to show you the power of just this particular one aspect of comprehensive guidance, which is the what and why, wanted to talk to you about an example of a study we have done with a client of ours, which is a large U.S. Technology manufacturer, and we were working for the peripherals group in that company, whose job was to try and sell peripherals to the main servers, laptops, etc. that the customers were buying. And not only was this sale going to happen during the time that the main purchase was happening, but also much after that, right? And the issue was the salespeople without guidance was simply pitching the most obvious ones, like a mouse or a keyboard to a laptop and so on and so forth. And that wasn't, while it was leading to some sales, wasn't the most margin. Money was being left into the table, and so on and so forth. So the AI-based sales system was then used to build a recommendation engine with a rationale to help these salespeople push more higher margins and better valued peripherals. And as you can see, we saw over a 20% increase in the annual margin, which led for just that team of about 600 sales reps to about a 7 million incremental margin for the company. So just one aspect of this AI-based sales guidance system can be extremely powerful and extremely impactful. Finally, you're left with the last aspect, which is the how, or understanding what is the next best action. This is really about predicting or recommending on the channel that should be used to get in touch with the client. This can be different by the nature of the opportunity, the preference that the contact has shown in the past, by the stage of the opportunity, the urgency, the last communication channel, and many other factors. Predictive models and algorithms can be built to do this with a fair degree of accuracy. That really brings us to the end of the comprehensive guidance pillar. You wanted to end this pillar by reiterating something that we mentioned at the beginning of this section, which is while there are solutions which address some of these areas of comprehensive guidance. In fact, nearly all of these areas have some solution or the other. There is no one solution that is giving a good comprehensive guidance across all these 5 areas. And that really is the need of the hour, and that really is the gap in the market as we see it today. This brings us to the heart of AI-based guidance system, the analytics engine. So let me actually turn it over to my colleague Rajat Naran to take you through the rest of the presentation.
Thanks, Siddhar. So far we have looked at the 2 pillars, which is 360-degree learning, which is the data that we collect, and the comprehensive guidance, which is the output that we are looking for. Intelligent analytics, or the analytics engine, is the heart of this entire system. The reason being, this is the pillar which connects the raw data, or takes the raw data, which is pillar number 1, and converts it into the comprehensive guidance, which is the second pillar of the AI-based predictive selling system. So let's see a few characteristics about this intelligent analytics engine that we are talking about. The first characteristic is that it needs to cover all the various aspects of comprehensive guidance, and that's the least it should be doing. It should be able to answer who to contact. It should be able to answer when to reach out, what to offer, why they will buy, and how to contact them. So all of these, through various models, should be answered by the analytics engine that we are developing. But having the breadth is not enough. What we also need to have is that the depth of each of these aspects should be covered very well by this analytics engine. So, we need to go deep into the nuances, understand the nitty-gritties, and take care of that when each of the models are built. So give a few examples. Let's think about a lead scoring model. Typically, a lead scoring model you would see, is at a contact level. It gives us what is the probability of this customer or this prospect purchasing from you. However, we feel that that's not enough. We need to look at the contact for sure, but we also need to look at which site or which office this contact is coming from and what is the importance of this site. We also need to look at the account that this contact is coming from and score those accounts as well. And to further illustrate why this is very important is that if let's say there is a contact who has reached out to you for a particular inquiry, but from the past data, we see that this particular contact has not purchased enough number of times or has not purchased. So the lead scoring model might just score this contact at a very low level, and you might not reach out to this contact. But what if this contact is coming from an account which is of very high strategic importance? So the account lead score should be feeding into the contact level lead score so that the information that the contact lead score is eventually providing takes into account for that, and you are reaching out to this particular contact in this example because of the strategic nature of the account that this contact is coming from. So the multi-level lead score gives the comprehensiveness and gives the depth of the lead scoring that we can build. Similarly, when we look at the lead scoring examples, most of them are actually about opening new opportunities. But is that enough? We need to look at closing the opportunities that are already open with us. What is the probability of each one of them closing? We need to be able to rank them as well. We need to look at what are the service contracts that are running with us as of now and probability of each of the contracts getting renewed. So the lead scoring should be able to look at opening opportunities, but also take care of closing and renewal of opportunities. Similarly, if I look at the product recommendations, what products to offer for a particular contact, I should be looking at the new products that I can potentially offer. That will typically come from a recommendation engine, looking at the other products that the customer has purchased, what are the products that I can potentially offer. So that's one aspect. But we can't ignore the existing products that the customer is already purchasing. Look at the purchase frequency of those products. Look at the life cycle of those products and then recommend not only the new products, but also recommend existing products that the customer has purchased. Look at it from within the product family associations, look at it outside the product family associations, and then come up with the guidance which is taking into account all the products that you can offer to a particular customer. So that's the breadth and the depth of analytics engine that forms the first characteristic of the system. The second characteristic of this analytical engine is that it should have a decision algorithm. When we talk about the AI-based predictive selling, we are not talking about model outputs such as lead scores. We are also not talking about a particular insight that these models might be able to generate. We are talking about recommendation action items. And these recommended action items is what we are looking for. And this decision algorithm is the algorithm which takes the raw model output and converts it into the action item. So be it a probability score from a lead score model, or be it a product similarity score from a product recommendation engine. This decision algorithm takes all of these model outputs, combines it with the business rules, combines it with the context in which we are looking at, and converts it into the action item. So what you see on the right-hand side of the screen, where we are talking about Coach Thompson at Stanford, where we want to follow up for the weightlifting equipment and try to close that deal. So that's the action item that we need to come out from this AI-based predictive analytics system. So that's the second characteristic about intelligent analytics. The third characteristic about intelligent analytics is it should have a machine learning backbone, and it needs to be always evolving. It can't be static in nature. It needs to learn. It needs to incorporate feedback from the customers or prospects. What actions are they doing? Take into account all of that. Take into account what the salespeople are saying about the recommendations, which recommendations are working, which recommendations are not working. Incorporate all of that into some sort of a self-learning mechanism, maybe using some of the advanced techniques like deep learning or semi-supervised machine learning algorithms. Use all of that and make it a evolving self-learning system. And this system also cannot have a static framework. The framework itself needs to keep evolving as well. So for example, if you have started with only the internal data, internal CRM data as the base for creating the system, you need to add third-party data as a next step, which will increase the predictive power of the intelligent system. The next thing that you can add is probably social media data, which will again probably provide some purchase intent and further add to the predictive power of the analytics system. So in a nutshell, the third aspect is about keep evolving and use self-learning as a key to make the recommendations more and more powerful. So that's the intelligent analytics or the analytics engine, the third pillar of the AI-based predictive selling system. The fourth pillar is about ease of use. It is about context-sensitive and intuitive information provided to the salesperson so that it's easy for them to use it. The fourth pillar, in a way, is an enabler for the change management. We have heard about stories in the 90s when the Salesforce and other CRM systems were introduced that the salespeople were pushing back that this is an additional task for them, it's not adding value and just a task for us, and it took a lot of pain to get the systems in place. In order to bypass all of this pain, we are talking about the fourth pillar, which is ease of use. And the first aspect about this ease of use is actually not to introduce a new system at all. It is about integrate this entire system with the existing system that salespeople are used to using nowadays. So when they are looking at their existing Salesforce system and they are very familiar with it, they have very comfortable with the look and feel, and they see something additional, which is the value add from the predictive analytics based system, they will really be able to access it and they will be able to use it in a very seamless manner. This should also be available across different devices. If they are on the move, should be available on the mobile. If they are in the office, it should be available on their laptops. And that's when it will really ensure that adoption of this AI-based system will take place. And the big bonus of integrating it with the existing CRM system is that the salespeople actually don't need to do a lot of additional tasks. The system pulls the information or the data from the CRM systems automatically generates the insight, and throws it on the front end of this system which the salespeople are using. So that's the first aspect about ease of use. The second aspect about ease of use is to be context sensitive and intuitive. And when we say context sensitive, what we really mean is that depending on the kind of activity that the salesperson is doing, we need to provide the information that is relevant for that activity. So for instance, when the salesperson is planning their day or planning their week, they might be interested in looking at all the different conversations, opportunities that they are going through right now, but look at it only a limited information so that they can plan their work. But when they are actually getting into the details of the meeting, when they want to prepare for a meeting, they want a lot more information about that particular meeting, that what is the product that I should be talking about, why I should be recommending this particular product, what is the discount guidance I have on this particular product, what is the pitching point that I should be using. All of that points which are relevant for preparation for the meeting should be available to them at the click of a button. So that's about planning and preparing, which kind of provides the context-sensitive information for sales people. The other aspect is around being intuitiveness, which is something which is easy to understand, something which is easy to digest and look at, something which is customizable. No two people would like to see the same information in the same way. So the option or the ability to customize what and how they are looking at is very, very important. And even more important is the fact that this front end of the system is the only interaction point that you have with the salespeople. So this needs to take feedback from the salespeople and integrate it with our CRM systems. What recommendations are working versus what's not working, all of that information should be directly fed into the front end of the system itself. So that's the second aspect around ease of use. So does it really work? The four pillars that we have talked about. We talked about the 360-degree learning. We talked about comprehensive guidance. Talked about the intelligent analytics, and fourth one, which is the ease of use or enabler to make the change management happen. Does it really work? In our experience, it does. It definitely does, because we have seen it in a few of the client implementations or client work that we have done around this kind of a system. And let me take you through one of the success stories for a large industrial supplier. This is a Fortune 100 company providing B2B industrial goods to the businesses. It has over 1 million products that they are selling across 160 countries. They have two big channels through which they provide these products. They have an e-commerce platform, and they have an on-ground sales team of around 2,400 sales representatives. They were facing intense competition, and they wanted to use the AI-based predictive selling system to provide the right guidance to their salespeople. And when they thought of the right guidance, they were talking about the right customers, the right conversation, and the right time. And that is when a client of ours approached us, and we built the system, the predictive analytics-based system for them, which kind of help them identify the right customers through lead scoring models, which help them answer the right conversations through product recommendations, right time through the decision algorithms that we created, and provided them a weekly recommendation list of what, who, and what to talk. So this is how the recommendations look like for a particular sales person. So they got who to pitch, they got what to pitch, and how to pitch. So in this example, we say that reach out to Mr. Alan Jackson, offer him a 200-watt DC motor, and reach out through a phone call, and that's when it's the most likely that this conversation will move forward. So with this kind of guidance, what our clients did was they did a field test. It was not implemented directly for the entire sales group, but they tested it for 50 sales reps that they had, and they compared the sales that they were able to, this test group was able to make with the control group, which had an equal number of sales reps, but they were not provided this AI-based sales guidance. And what we saw was that we actually got a 4% incremental sales in a 7-week of A/B test period. And 1% of that came directly from the sales that the test group was able to complete in just a 7-week period. And since it was a B2B sale with a longer cycle, 2% of incremental pipeline was generated. In all, this was a 4% increase by the test group. And this, when translated for the 2,400 sales representatives, comes out to a whopping $150 million of annual incremental revenue. So that's the kind of impact that the AI-based predictive selling can create for any organization. So with this, I come to and I'll hand it over to Peter for a quick summary, and then we'll open the floor for questions.
Thank you, Rajat. And as you just saw, these 4 pillars the AI-based sales system works, and to make it work, there is a lot that goes into it, but it is still worth it at the end of the thing. So just to kind of conclude, I think we should just go over the 4 pillars once, from getting a 360-degree view of the customer and trying to get as much information as possible in one place and using that in your AI-based system, with the caveat that don't wait to get every data in. You can get started with your CRM data. To choosing systems that provide comprehensive guidance around the 5 areas of who, when, what, why, and how. Choosing systems that have great analytics within it, which is both broad and deep, which has a decision-generating algorithm, as well as using machine learning. And finally, choosing a system which is intuitive to use, context-sensitive, and very, very easy to adapt for the sales group. That brings us to the end of the presentation. Hopefully, this gives you a flavor of how AI and AI-based sales guidance is changing the sales world, and what goes into building a good AI-based predictive selling system. So we'll open the floor for questions at this point. And let's see what we have here. Okay. So I think one of the questions is around the industries that this can apply to. As I said before, this can actually apply to nearly all industries, but industries which is more B2B, driven by Salesforce people, industries like technology, industries like manufacturing, industrial, but also in hospitality, in retail. This can apply across the board to multiple industries. Do you think predictive selling can be used in the financial service industry? Yes, we absolutely think it can. We are exploring using it for helping financial advisors who do a lot of personal financial advice and suggest financial products, something like this for them. What kind of involvement and effort is needed from in-house IT or analytics teams? So if you're building up a custom system, then it does take involvement from the in-house analytics team or IT. But there are ready-made systems that are available today, products, applications, or platforms, varying degree of readiness of plug and play that can be chosen. There are many players in this space, so hopefully the guide that we gave today about the characteristics that a good system would have can help you choose among the available options in the market. With that, we come to an end for this webinar today. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate the time. We would be very happy to hear from you. You can contact us. Our contact information is there. You can follow us on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on our webpage. Subscribe for our blog. There's a lot of interesting stuff that keeps happening, and you can get to know about that. Finally, this webinar and this recording will be provided back to you. So thank you, and have a good day. Bye.